not holding out any grand promises, not even articulating what the road ahead will look like, but very clearly articulating the solutions to the specific problems at hand. For more on what we should make of this, we're now joined by Vinod Sharma and the President of the CII, GODREJ. Mr. GODREJ, let me come to you first and then I'll go to Vinod Sharma. What did you make of what the Prime Minister had to say? Because while he didn't go into, holding out a reform agenda, he was very clear about communicating the message, the need for why these tough decisions have been taken. Do you believe this will cut ice with the middle class?
Well, I think it's very good that the Prime Minister addressed the nation. I'm very glad that he has explained the situation. I think it's very clear that the economic steps taken are extremely important for the country. Our growth rate has come down very considerably, and it is extremely important that we do everything possible to accelerate this growth rate. I felt his speech was very balanced. I think it explained to the people why the steps were taken, and I think it will help the government take further steps on reform, which to my mind are very necessary if we have to get our economy growing again.
But are you disappointed, Mr. GODREJ, because you were talking about the reforms that they can possibly take from here on? Are you disappointed that he didn't articulate what the reform roadmap could possibly look like?
No, I didn't expect him to do that in a speech to the people. I think he did explain the steps taken, and which will enable him to take further steps. And if you look at the political situation now, I think the government will be able to further steps now that Trinamool, which was opposing almost every reform, is out of the government, and there is sufficient support for this government from outside.
But I want to understand how corporate India is getting that kind of confidence, because if you talk about any of the big ticket items, even insurance or pension or the land bill or GST, you need numbers in Parliament for all of that to go through. Kapil Sibal telling us just a short while ago that on insurance you need to have the numbers in Parliament, and we don't, so there's no question of legislative action getting cleared.
You're right. The legislative reforms may take a little time. The administrative reforms could be gone ahead with. For example, the Finance Ministry announced, I think, 4 or 5 reforms today itself. I think these reforms can add value. And of course, the most important reform to my mind, legislative reform, which can really be a game changer, is the goods and services tax. So I think the government should concentrate on getting that passed. The CII is working very hard with the states, with the opposition, with the government to get the GST implemented as soon as possible, because it will add 1.5 to 2 percentage points to our GDP growth, other things being equal.
Right. But Mr. GODREJ, he was talking there about regaining investor confidence, regaining foreign investor confidence. Do you believe foreign investors at the end of what they've seen, not just this evening, but also over the past 1 week, the actions taken by this government, are going to feel a lot more confident about the India story?
Yes, I do feel so. I think the perception has changed. I think if you look at the GAR recommendation submitted a few days ago, the discussions on the retrospective amendments, etc., I think it has changed the perception. The perception has improved, and I think it can further improve if we continue on this path.
All right, GODREJ, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18. That's the voice from corporate India, the chairman of the Confederation of Indian Industry. But let's get the political view now. Does it look like they've been able to cobble up the numbers? That is the question. Vinod Sharma, the government seems to be fairly confident that they've been able to strike some sort of agreement. It's not clear whether it's the SP or the BSP. What's your own sense?
Well, actually, Mulayam and Mayawati, being staunch adversaries in Uttar Pradesh, are cancelling each other's clout, or if you want to call it nuisance value, for the UPA. And so long as this contradiction remains and the Congress has the elbow room to play one against the other, I think numbers are intact. Even Mulayam isn't 100% sure whether this is time for him to force an election. He would like his son Akhilesh Yadav to find his feet in Uttar Pradesh, to do something which adds value to the existing constituency of Samajwadi Party in the state that sends 80 members of parliament to the Lok Sabha. And if Mulayam really is harboring prime ministerial ambitions, then he'll have to wait his turn to see what time is good for him to go to elections. But even when he decides to go to elections, he would have to bear in mind that if the timing doesn't suit Mayawati, she will fill in the vacuum created by his exit. So as of today, the situation is good for the UPA. I wouldn't say it is excellent. UPA will have to do a lot of groundwork, a lot of policy making, it will have to demonstrate a lot of perseverance to be able to recover some of the lost ground in political terms. The big question remains that though it seems to be recovering some of the lost ground, whether it will be able to hold to that ground and widen the net. As of today, your guess is as good as mine, but I think finally the Congress seems to be getting back in good nick. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh seems to be having the power of attorney of the Congress party to push forward the reforms, to bring in new policies and to ensure that the economy gets repaired sooner than later.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has the power of attorney, Vinod Sharma, but how significant is the cabinet reshuffle likely to be? Because we've got the berths left vacant by the TMC's exit, and you had a lot of ministers who actually held dual portfolios. How large is this cabinet reshuffle are you expecting it to be?
Well, the sense I get is that the next reshuffle is going to be a sizable reshuffle, and that you would see some of the younger ministers getting promoted in order to give the government a personality transplant which will fit well with the policy initiatives that have been initiated by the Prime Minister. Thereafter, you will also see a lot of changes on the organizational side in the Congress, because don't forget that a string of assembly elections are due later this year and next year, and the party has to get ready for that regardless of the outcome. I think that the Congress is not going to leave any stone unturned now. That is, seized back the initiative. It has seized back the initiative, and it wants to keep the initiative within its hands till the time elections are over in the state assemblies.
So you're saying expect a significant cabinet reshuffle, but let's also get in another industry voice. Rajan Mittal joins us. Mr. Mittal, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18. What did you make of the Prime Minister's speech? Were you impressed?
Well, I think Honorable Prime Minister made a statement, and it came through from his heart. I can say that he feels that these decisions may be tough decisions, which are looking like tough decisions, but there is no choice. And I think he has come out fairly and squarely saying these decisions are needed for long term, these decisions are needed for India, and I think we will all support these decisions, even if they're hard for a medium to short term kind of a basis, but we have to see a long term position, and I think from that point of view these decisions are very welcome, and we hope that the train of reforms that has kick-started will further continue.
But Mr. Mittal, let me ask you the same question that I just asked Adi Godrej. The fact that he didn't really give you a sense of what we can now expect. He only spoke about the decisions that were taken and the necessity for those decisions, but he didn't give us a roadmap of the future.
No, I think the intention is pretty much there. If you really notice from the corporate India, what is hearing, that this is just a kickstart, and if they've taken some hard decisions on hike in diesel, on FDI and retail, aviation, simplifying the rules for single brand, of course also disinvestment plan, I think this is pretty much a roadmap, if I would say, that has been put on the table now, and we do believe that this is only the first phase of our reforms, or kick-starting of reforms, and they'll be backed with more reforms. So I think the intention has been put on the table to say India needs it, the voice of India needs to be heard once again. India is on its roll, so I think you will see some more reforms coming in the coming days and coming weeks.
Well, that's of course opinions coming in from India Inc.